Got the tub off my 1980 Jeep CJ7, and I'm refreshing an old build, someone else's old build, and it's time to hook up the fuel lines. I decided to put as much hardline in as I could. Bought this 3/8 aluminum tube from Jegs, and here I've got a forming spring over the tube. It comes in a 25-foot coil, and I don't want it round, I want it straight. So you can get these forming springs at your hardware store. It's the same stuff that a plumber would use for copper tube. Got a section straight. I measured what I needed, just making a mark. I'm going to use a tubing cutter to cut it. Again, you can get this at the hardware store, same stuff you use to cut copper tube. And it's a cutting wheel and then some rollers and then a screw to tighten it with a handle on the end of it. So here I'm tightening it around it, and just rotate around, and then tighten it a little bit, and rotation, tighten it a little bit, rotate it all the way around. And I'm just turning that handle a little bit each time, each rotation, to tighten it. And that brings that blade more and more in until it eventually cuts the tube. So I've got a short, straight piece. I've got my forming spring bent or around it again, and I'm bending it over a pipe that I've got chalked up in the vise there. Putting a 90 in one side here. If you go a little too far, you can always back it up. Oops, like that. The forming spring just keeps you from kinking the tube. They've got them in different sizes. And then I've made a mark on the bench, 2 marks with a Sharpie, that are the width of the length of this tube that I want. So it's the distance between the two fittings. And I'm going to bend it a little bit, then go back to my marks, bend it a little bit, go back to my marks. If you have a more complicated run, you might use like a thick piece of wire or something to give yourself a pattern. This is a pretty simple one I chose to show. So I'm just using the marks on the bench to see if I'm close or not, if I got to open it back up or tighten it up. Spend a little bit each time, then we're going over to my marks. Once I got it the way I want it, and I'm going to put ends on it. I got these from Jegs as well. And I could have bought standard AN nuts and flared it. I've got the flaring tool, but these look really easy, so I'm going with these. We'll see. It's a 3-piece tube end, the ferrule, and a nut, and then the AN fitting. I'm lubing them up a little bit. These are aluminum fittings. I don't want to gall them, so put a little assembly lube in them. You put the nut on, and then the ferrule, and then the tube end is the other end of that flare fitting, with an AN fitting on the other end of it. Holding the tube in, tighten that nut, grab a couple wrenches. We'll finish tightening it up to, what that does is then crushes that ferrule, and it clamps around the aluminum tube. So it won't fall off at that point. You can bust the nut loose to take the fitting off the end, but you can't get the ferrule off once you've put it on. So that tight, we'll go and test fit it. And it's a little long actually, so I'm going to bend it. Here I'm lubing again. Again, aluminum fittings, going into steel AN fittings on the regulator and pump. But I'm going to have to bend that, and you can see there my bend in it I had to put in there. that shortened my length. I had gotten it too long somehow. But that bend actually kind of helped get it away from the cross member too, so I wasn't too upset about it. And then I'm going to use one wrench to hold the fitting while the swivel nut that's on that fitting is tightened onto the steel male fitting. I don't know, got a few more to make, but I thought I'd share. Got plenty of other videos, not just Jeep stuff, motorcycle stuff, truck stuff, SUV stuff. So check out the channel, like, comment, subscribe, check out the playlists. You can even buy me a beer with your Google Wallet by clicking on support this channel, or get yourself a hat or a t-shirt by clicking on the gear button. Wrench on!